All right, so to do a problem like this where you have the before and the after, one of the things that would have happened last time, and while I'm recording it, I want to bring it up. One of the things that would have happened last time is simply this, that while I may have given you this sheet and you had all these formulas on it, the one thing that happened last time, I'm not calling anybody out specifically, is that you realize just having the formulas doesn't necessarily get you into the right area, because you still got to figure out which one's which. Now, the beauty of this is that all of these formulas are uniquely different. This one's dealing with proportions. This one deals with before and after. That's the D bar. Okay? Testing the difference in before and after is D bar. And so when you see this kind of before and after scenario, that should take you into the fact that you need to use this formula, or one of these two formulas anyway. Okay? So the first thing you're going to want to do is find the difference between the two befores and afters. So which way you subtract doesn't really matter. I always subtract the before minus the after. So in this case, I would say this is negative 10. This is negative 15. This is negative 3. This is positive 3. And this is 0. Okay? And so we got to find the average of all those values. So let's bring up the calculator real quick. So how do I find the average? Well, remember that just finding the average doesn't do us any good. Don't just be so quick to go, well, the average is negative 10, negative 15 is negative 25, divided by 5 is negative 5. Do it using this. Stat, edit, clear the list, clear the list, and type them in. You can type in negative 10. You don't have to use the negative sign. But if you don't, make sure you use the other one as negative, because you can't have all of them be the same sign.
Professor, is it negative 15 or is it positive 15?
Well, it depends on how you subtract.
Well, you subtracted both, but one is adding and one's wait. Take that back.
We straight?
Yeah.
All right, so I've typed all those numbers in, stat, calc, one variable statistics. Get that the average, that D bar is equal to negative 5, S is equal to 7.38.
You said it depends on how you subtract. So it would never be positive 5?
No, it depends on how you subtract. So the question is, could you make this a positive 10? The answer is yes. I mean, you could, if you wanted to, PJ, subtract the other way and do 120 minus 110 is 10, 145 minus 130 is 15, and go, well, that's improving the score. And that's fine.
Right.
But when you get to this one and they went backwards, that would have to be a negative number.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is you can't do positive, 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 positive here. Just like you can't do negative, 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 negative there. It's just you got to do one or the other.
All right.
And be consistent. But which one you do, it doesn't really matter.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So S is 7.38. Is there a question?
Well, so it won't make a difference then? In your answer, if you do it either way. Okay.
Where will it make a difference? When you go to set up HO, and you got to say, well, the claim is that it helps improve. So does that make it mu is greater than 0 or mu is less than 0? And it depends on how you do it. If you do it this way, then getting the negative score is good. And so you would say, well, if it helps improve, then what we're saying is that H1 is that mu is less than 0. If you do it the other way, then you'd want to do mu is greater than 0.
So as long as your claim fits your math right there.
Right.
you'll be fine. Okay.
That's right. And so as long as this sign here and this here matches, then you're fine. But what you don't want to do is have this be a negative number and then call this a greater than sign. That's not going to be right. Okay? All right, so we got HO is that mu is equal to 0. Okay. Part B. Part B is something. Oh, left tail, right tail, two-tail test. Left tail. This area is 0.05. What are we using here? We're using which chart? We're using the T-score chart. Yes, Nick?
Is this not the one where it's backwards and H1 is equal to 0?
There's none of them that are backwards where that's the case. Ever.
Sure.
Nick, I have not been sure of anything in my life until this moment.
I feel like last Thursday you said, in this exact situation,
I feel like last Thursday you misunderstood.
it's gonna,
In fact, I am quite certain. And I've got two people who are raising their...
He said that you switched the claim, not that you switched the sign.
I said that HO is equal to 0, and that was the claim.
H1, but now in this one, your claim is going to be HO.
Yes. Right. That's exactly what I said. Yes.
What makes H1 a less than sign?
You're trying to say that it improves your IQ, right? So what does that mean? Your IQ goes up, right? So if you subtract the first one minus the second one, and it's gone up, you should get a negative number, yes?
Depending on how you do it.
Okay. And again, it depends on how you subtract. If you do it the other way around, you should get a greater than number. It depends on how you subtract, and that's the problem. Okay. All right, so we're going to be on a T-score chart. I need degrees of freedom. Who's my degrees of freedom expert? Jenny. It's definitely. It would not be you, James. I know that for sure. I did. It was the pain pills. All right. Jenny, degrees of freedom? And in this case, 4. Now, we're looking at 0.05 and one tail. This is a one-tail test. So 0.05, one tail, come down to 4. It looks like you get 2.132. And in that case, Clutch, when I say it looks like it, I mean it does. Part C, you got to write down the formula. You can write it right off the screen. Got to write down the formula. So I'll do that. Let me write that down real quick. Part C. Right there. Part D. Fill in the pieces. T equals, we got -5 minus 0 divided by 7.58. 38 divided by the square root of 5. Bring up the calculator. Let's take a look. Now, again, I'm going to live on the edge a little bit. Not so much that I won't put in the negative sign. I don't live that far on the edge. That's a little bit too risky for me. But I'm not going to put in the 0. 7.38 divided by the square root of 5. Now, some of you are going like this. Why in the world is he not putting in the 0? It says it. Well, negative 5 minus 0 is still negative 5. You got negative 1.51. Okay. So this is negative 1.51. Do you reject or fail to reject HO? Fail to reject HO. Do you support or not support the claim? Which one's the claim? Is it HO or H1? It's H1, right? And if you fail to reject HO, you're saying that HO is true and H1 is false. So in this particular case, what are you going to say? At a 0.05, go ahead, do your thing. Yeah.
At a 0.05 level of significance,
There is
sufficient evidence. There's not sufficient evidence.
There is not sufficient evidence
to support the claim that mu is equal to
to support the claim
7. Right?
that mu d is less than 0. Yeah, I heard him say equal, and I was going to try just to ignore that because I don't think the microphone's picking him up. So I was just going to fix it mid-sentence for him and just be like, "Yeah, Nick, good job." And then I don't know what happened. Part G. Population is normally distributed, and sigma is unknown. All right, with that being said, yes.
Can we talk about rejecting the HO? What is the 0? What?
All right, so there was a question about why is this 0? And the answer is, let's suppose I told you, go home and eat 2 red onions a day, and it's going to help your intelligence. But you got to eat them whole, and you just got to eat them like they're apples. Now, some of you are going like this. Look, if I can pass this class and get out of here, I'll try it. I mean, if it helps, I'll go home and just start peeling apples, start peeling onions away. Okay? Breath be kicking and, significant other be like, get the hell away from me. But you'd be like this, I'm passing. Right? How do you know if that actually helps? How do you know if that helps? Well, you would measure your score before you started eating all the onions, and then you'd measure it after, and you'd see if there was a change. If there's no change, and all you've done is just ate 15 onions and nothing happened, then your breath smells like hell, and your score hasn't changed a bit. So your before score and your after score would be the same, and when you subtract them, you would get 0. And that's this indication. This is basically saying that the before score and the after score are exactly identical, meaning there's been no change. So whatever IQ boosting you're doing ain't boosting nothing. This is saying that the after score is higher than the before score, indicating that whatever you've done has helped your IQ. And that's the significance of the 0. Great question. Other questions?
I believe you already said it, but if D bar is positive 5, then then OWM is greater than 0. Instead of mu.
I might need to call 911.
I was stuttering, but I told you I stuttered.
Oh, yeah, you stuttered. Okay. There for a moment I thought he said M, and that would be bad. Mu. if these numbers were a positive, if this was a positive 10, if this was a positive 15, if this was a positive 3, this would have to be a negative 3. That would be 0. Then this would be greater than 0. This would be greater than 0. This would be a right tail test. This number here would be a positive 1.51. And you would still fail to reject HO, and you ultimately get the same conclusion. All right.
Are you going to have it on the test where it says instead of more or less, it's going to be test the claim that there's no improvement? Like there's like
That's the same thing.
I'll
I'll test that there's no change. I certainly could. And in the event that it was no change, HO would be equal to, H1 would be not equal to, the 0.05 would split into two pieces. Same process. Okay. With that being said, no more questions.